Hi guys, I'm here with a video in audio form. I went to Forbidden Door on Sunday evening, my time, and it was a hell of an atmosphere, hell of a show to be at live. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it had the high points of other AEW shows or even the consistency, but to be there live, it was amazing. I was sat very high up in the gods, pretty much, like overlooking the whole arena, and I still had a really good view. You know, I could see directly into the ring, so it wasn't like, when you sit up high and you're just looking at screens a lot of the time, or like trying to like concentrate on the ring and the screens are like kind of taking your eye because they're there. I mean, the ring was very much in view where I was, and that's where my attention was the whole time. And yeah, let's get to it. The pre-show. Well, I was getting in just as Don Callis was doing his opening promo for the first match, and I'm just gonna run through the pre-show very briefly. I mean, it was all very serviceable, like quite fun warm-up matches, really. I think like the one I enjoyed the most out of the pre-show matches was the Gates of Agony and Ricochet against Jet Speed and Michael Oku. Michael Oku had a hell of a pop, and this is something that like I wonder about with British shows in the UK. Like, are people paying attention to what's going on outside of WWE or AEW? As far as like people on the indies and that, and I think the people that pay money to come to these AEW pay-per-views are very much aware of what's going on, and Michael Oku got a hell of a pop and a hell of a reaction, and he took a crazy bump in that match, and it was just like really fun. And then like we had like the women's four-way as well, which was serviceable, It's the time with the pre-shows of AEW, especially like for big international shows and like all-ins and that, is to get a lot of people on the card. And obviously, like, I love to see Willow Nightingale live because she's one of my faves and one of my girlfriend's faves as well. And yeah, that was fine. The opening match, I mean, that had some New Japan talent in El Desperado, Yuya Inamura. And I was just thinking in this match, right? Like Josh Alexander was on the Callis family's team, and I feel like the trigger hasn't been pulled on anything with Josh Alexander since he's come in. Like, he's had a few moments. He had that match with Hangman when he was like the wild card in the Owen Hart family tournament. And he had a match with Adam Cole, and he had a great match with Brody King. But, like, yeah, he's pretty much making the numbers up at the moment. And I feel like he should be used better. In my opinion, on this pre-show, I would have liked some single matches with, like, more New Japan talent. Give me Josh Alexander against Yuya Inamura. That would be awesome. Or against Yota Tsuji or someone like that. I mean, that would have been good. But it's good to see him and good to see them. And El Desperado barely did anything in this match, I thought, which was a bit of a shame. But, it's serviceable. It's all right. It's the pre-show. And then we had the Ops against the Bullet Club, and that was a very short match. And, like, it was just fun. And the UK loves Samoa Joe because, we treat him like he's one of ours, basically. There's a lot of people that like probably grew up watching TNA in this country because it was on free TV for quite a long time, from the end of the 2000s through to like maybe early 2020s. It was on free TV, so yeah, he's like a big deal over here, so it was like really cool to see Joe. And then we get onto the main card, and it starts off with Adam Copeland and Christian Cage facing Killswitch and Kip Sabian. And the thing about this, like, matches like this, it's there to serve the crowd, really. Like, people have a connection with Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, like, from when they were, like, younger, watching in the Attitude Era, when they were, like, a tag team. And it's just, like, a happy moment seeing them tag together for a lot of people there. Like, regardless of how the match was, I thought it was like quite a fun opener. There was, watching live, there was like things that didn't really make sense with what was going on with Kill Switch and that. Like, but, you know, when I like watched it back on the pay-per-view, is still in that mode of like he doesn't really want to be controlled kind of thing, so he like lashed out a Kit. But that Doomsday Device spot was a little bit whack, I gotta say. Like, there was a bit of confusion with people where I was sitting, but you know, it was a fun, serviceable opener, and it got the crowd hyped seeing Cope and Cage together. And of course, you know, like Cope and Cage, like not like the greatest of tag teams ever. You know, I could name 100 tag teams better than Cope and Cage. Haha. You know, you've probably like seen that video, haven't you? But that was relating to the Dudleys one. But yeah, like it was cool. You know, I mean, like I can understand there's problems with it, logic wise and that, but it's serviceable for the crowd. And then it was Kyle Fletcher versus Hiromu Takahashi, and I thought this was really good. You know, I thought Hiromu really brought it in this match. I haven't really seen a lot of that out of him like this year. Like, I mean, I watched like a fair bit of New Japan, and I think he had a few good moments in the Best of the Super Juniors tournament, but like not a lot from memory. You know, he's just. I feel like he really put on his working shoes in this, and Carl Fletcher's always a very consistent wrestler, and I thought this was really good, and it did what it needed to. And then there was the women's four-way, and, you know, I, like, went to the toilet at the beginning of this match, but I saw the majority of it, and it just felt a bit messy, and, like, I don't know, sluggish, messy, and just like not all there. And I don't get the hype that I saw online from certain people over this match. Some people even saying this is the best match of the show, like, which is crazy to me. But yeah, it's just, for God's sake, why couldn't we just have Mercedes against like Sari or someone like that, or even just Alex Windsor, like in a singles match? But it was fine. And people popped for like Mercedes entrance, and just like me, I saw a hell of a lot of people get up and go to get drinks and that. You know, this was a bit of a like exodus in the crowd for this match.
What do you say?
Said, oh my god, just get on with
And then it was Zack Sabre Jr. versus Nigel McGuinness for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And it had a really, like, I don't know, quite a corny, very, very British thing with Johnny Saint at the beginning. But it was a nice little touch. And I did enjoy it. And the match was great. Like, it was like very technical and stuff. And I thought, like, for Nigel McGuinness where he is now, it was as good as it could be. And live, I think, like, this is what a match that I preferred watching back on pay-per-view rather than live. Because I feel like I could get all the nuances and stuff. I mean, if I was like sitting closer, I probably would have appreciated it a bit more live. But yeah, like watching it back on pay-per-view, it seemed a lot better to me. You know, you could see all the nuances in the technical wrestling and stuff. And from where we were sat, we saw Danny Garcia come in with the towel, and like we thought, like the finish would be like Zack Sabre Jr. would have Nigel McGuinness in a submission, and Danny would throw in the towel. But not to be. And then, like, there was the bit at the end where they're milling about and Tony Schiavone comes in, and, like, everyone around me thought Danny Garcia was going to turn heel on Nigel McGuinness, but that wasn't to be either. But I feel like there will be something down the road with those two. Like, it does seem to be building up to something. Danny Garcia has that disappointed look on his face, and they need to do something with Danny Garcia, for God's sake. Like, he like re-signed that contract. He had that thing with MJF, which he should have won, really. And then he was like, had a really boring, bland reign with the TNT title, and he's a good wrestler. He's someone that should be like part of AEW's future. I mean, at least looking back then, like what, a year ago, yeah, he should have been like a big deal by now, but it just hasn't really happened. So hopefully he can like rebuild himself and show some fire. And then it was the triple threat, the freeway tag team match. Brodito against the Hurt Syndicate and FTR. And yeah, this match, I mean, it was okay. Like, I don't know. I feel like this is very much like a Collision or Dynamite kind of match. But the booking was like really off. And I think like, as far as the crowd goes, I don't think we were like totally into it. There was a bit of a exodus of people leaving once again, but like like everyone loves Brody King here, and yeah, like the way it went down with the like people in masks attacking the Hurt Syndicate. Like, from where I was, and just looking at the ring and the aisleway, like, we had no idea who they were and, like, what their motive was. We were like, who the hell's this? And then apparently, like, flashed on the screen really briefly. But it turned out to be the Gates of Agony and Ricochet. And the execution of that just was very poor. And then, like, there was, like, the finish between Brodito and FTR when they went for the spot with the, like, flip into, like, the somersault splash to pin FTR, and like the timing between that and the cover and the ref and like FTR in there was so off, and it was a bit botchy and very deflating, but Brodito got the win, and that should have been a very triumphant moment. And I myself was like very happy to see Brody King have like a meaningful title win in AEW, because he's very deserving of it, like, because he's great. And it's just a shame that like it had such a like deflating like botchy thing that for like a triumphant conclusion. But I mean, it wasn't a great match. Even live, it wasn't great. And then it was Okada versus Swerve for the Unified Championship. And live, this felt like a really good match, watching it live. And it felt like a very satisfying kind of thing. Like, it felt like it could have gone on a little bit longer live, I felt. But, I mean, I was really enjoying it and thought it was like a good to very good match. But like when I watch it back on pay-per-view, it could have done with like 5 to 10 more minutes. It was like really getting going and stuff. But live, it was cool. And then bloody Wardlow showed up, and I couldn't really give a toss. And he joins the Don Callis family. Like, what is this, House of Torture or something? Fucking hell. I feel like I did not miss Wardlow at all. And I got a bit of enjoyment out of his power bombs and stuff. Like, what is this? Like 2021, 2022, something like that. But like some of it was ridiculous, and it felt like something that was, to the, like a side quest from like the main show. Not really part of it. But the crowd were like super into it, and I think the time to have done something with him would have been then. But we will see. I mean, it'll just be another henchman for the pile. I hope to God that he isn't like getting pushed to be like a challenger to Hangman or something like that. But yeah, as far as the match with Okada and Swerve goes, I thought it was like really good live. But watching it on pay-per-view, yeah, could have done with a lot more time. And I feel like similar to the Tony Storm and Athena match, I thought like they really went for it, balls to the wall, or a lot of it. And it just felt like, I mean, live, this like felt over very quick and abruptly, I thought. And yeah, and even looking at it on the pay-per-view, it's like a similar thing with the previous match. Could have done with 5 to 10 more minutes to get going. And then there's Hangman Adam Page versus MJF for the AEW World Title, and it had the stipulations of if Page got counted out or disqualified, he would have lost the belt. And live, this was a spectacle. You know, the crowd loves MJF and they love Hangman, but especially in my section, a lot of them loved MJF here, and you know, there was a lot of tomfoolery. And live, we were very confused by the leg on the rope fit when he like got pinned, and it seemed like the rev counted free, and the leg was already on the rope. And like, I think the execution of that was like pretty off. Like when I watched it back on pay-per-view, but other than that, like, you know, it was just like a silly, but like, you know, on the verge of being overbooked kind of match, you know, like not quite. I think like it was like really on the limits of being overbooked. I think to many it may feel overbooked, but it was like a real crowd pleasing kind of match for like the UK fans. You know, sometimes we like matches with a bit of shenanigans, like, because live that does work, and AEW doesn't throw that out like like overkill styly like WWE does. And it worked, and I thought the actual wrestling between those two was like really solid and great. And like, you know, just almost like their match at Revolution, but obviously not quite, like not quite as concise due to all the overbooked silliness and stuff. But I really enjoyed it, and we had a great time watching it live. And then there was the main event, the lights out steel cage match. And this was like fucking unhinged. You know, it was Golden Lovers, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, Darby Allin, Will Ospreay, and Hiroshi Tanahashi's last match in the UK versus the Death Riders, that being Claudio, John Moxley, and Gabe Kidd, and the Young Bucks, who came out to Umbop, which was like one of their early themes in the indies and stuff. And like back then they'd do it like for Heat and that, and it was like, as always, like a really funny idea. I love reading that story about that in their book. And for here, it's just like, you know, to take the piss out of them, and like the crowd fucking loved it. You know, it's like something that was easy to sing along. Umbop was number one over here in the 90s, and you couldn't escape it for like a few months, like in 97 or whatever. But there you go. And yeah, this match is fucking crazy, and is weird because like we knew Kenny Omega's banged up, we knew Will Ospreay's banged up, Gabe Kidd had a knee thing recently as well, and Tanahashi has no knees basically. And but it's like quite funny that he'd be in a match like this. But I don't know, it was a spectacle, wasn't it? I mean, I don't think it's like on the highs of like other kind of like deathmatch style things that AEW have done in the past. You know, like the Texas Death Matches, for instance, or like the Anarchy in Arenas and stuff like that. But it was great to see live. You know, you had like Ospreay's moonsault off the cage. And Darby and Gabe Kidd crashing into tables. And the finish of the match was wonderfully executed. They had the One Wing Angel by Kenny, from oh god, my mind is going blank. But Ospreay's like hidden blade into onto one of the Young Bucks. My mind just goes blank when I do these things. I'm very sorry. And then we got the Ace getting the pin, which was a beautiful touch. And I really liked this match a lot. It was like a hell of a spectacle live, and it came out very well on the pay-per-view. And it was just like it was definitely the match of the night, really, live and watching it back. And it's the match to like maybe go out your way and see. I wouldn't say it's perfect. I wouldn't say it's 5 stars, but it's definitely like up there. With a lot of AEW main events that have gone on this year. And now, the thing with this show, right? It like to me, it flowed really well. Like I've only watched it back today, with that being Tuesday, and I thought it like flowed pretty well. Even though considering there wasn't a lot on this show, or if anything, that like I'd consider great and stellar and amazing and spellbinding, but I think like the matches we got, like they were like unique enough to hold interest, and if you ignore some of like the booking things, and like or maybe just ignore that 3-way tag match and like the Monet 4-way, like then I think it is a pretty decent show. Like it's a shame that the Unified Championship and the Women's Championship didn't get longer time. And if you don't like things that are a bit overbooked, you're not going to like that AEW World Championship match. But like the crowd was going wild for it, so that's why it worked basically. And and like I think like there was like stuff on here that was definitely highlights, and I thought it was a very good show. Not as like as far as other AEW shows goes this year. I've like been saying like it didn't have the highlights of All In, but I think All In might be a overrated show. I mean, there was like 4 matches that like saved that show, made it really good. But I mean, 4 out of those 6 hours, I think you could have skipped on All In. And I think Double or Nothing was like a very consistent show from top to bottom, and like in pacing and that. Because I think pacing really matters in this day and age when you're gonna have shows that are like gonna be 4-hour plus. I think it means a lot, really, like to your viewing experience. But yeah, I'd say like there's definitely things watching, and watching this live was like a great time, and I had some like Germans sat behind me, and they kept going, "Let's go, Max, you're the best wrestler alive," but like, "Let's go, Zach, you're the best wrestler alive. Let's go, Kyle, you're the best wrestler alive." Like kept changing the names and that, and it wasn't annoying, which is amazing. They were just funny, and I was like sat by like someone very smarky as well, and he could tell like I didn't want to like take the bait too much, but oh, he's got colour, hasn't he, like say stuff like that, and like, oh, go over the hot tag, oh, he's working that, he's working this, just doing all these insider terms, which I don't really want when I'm like watching a show live, really. I want to be absorbed by the action, but he was nice enough, and there was the announcement that they're coming back to Cardiff and going to debut in Manchester in December, and I think that's really cool that AEW is going to like come over here a lot more, and I'm hoping to go to the Collision in Cardiff. I mean, it's a bit worrying because like some collisions are like just like house show fodder, really, but if it's during the Continental Classic, then hopefully I'll see some shit hot matches if I do go. But yeah, and then there's also the fact of it not being very Forbidden Door like this card, and yeah, I mean, I think there at the end there was a good amount of talent from New Japan on here, but I would have liked to seen some singles matches. I definitely would have liked to seen Yota Tsuji against someone like Josh Alexander, who I said earlier. Or I would have liked to seen someone like like Hechicero against El Desperado, or someone like that. Or I don't know. Yeah, like I mean, I'm surprised Shota Umino didn't turn up. Like he has affiliation with the Death Riders. I would have liked to seen Gabe Kidd against Samoa Joe. Really, seeing as like him and the Death Riders took out Samoa Joe like during their All In match. Something like that would have been cool. And there was no Mystico. Mystico was in like the highlights package at the beginning of the show, like saying, "Oh, all the promotions have come together and that." And like, I feel a bit shortchanged by that. Really, I don't really know who Persephone is. Not very impressive. And I'm sure they could have got. What about that Zeus's woman? Like, they could have got her or something. Like, because she was pretty cool. Like, when she was on the Grand Slam Mexico, I think it was. I might be confused with that. I don't know. But yeah, and I would like to see Ishii and Taichi defend their IWGP tag belts against Gates of Agony or something like that. You know, who else? I mean, you could have had like Shota Umino, but then you got like the matches on here that I was like really pleased that were announced were Okada versus Swerve. I had no idea what that was going to look like, and that match had potential to be great, and it was just good to very good, like because of the time allowed, and like months ago, all I wanted was Zack Sabre Jr. versus Nigel McGuinness, and I got that. I'm very happy for that. And, I think, like, I was quite surprised by, like, the choice of Hiromu for Carl Fletcher's opponent, but it worked out well in the end. I thought someone like Yota Tsuji would, like, really go down well in that spot. But nonetheless, it was an interesting show and very glad to have been and gone to it. And I enjoyed the experience of seeing it live. And so like afterwards there was like the Sweet Chin Disco, and at this show there was like Nigel McGuinness doing magic, and then there was Prince Nana doing a bit of a DJ set, and Swerve doing some of his raps. And like, I heard a funny comment from like some guy saying next to me saying about Swerve, I mean, he's not like Kendrick or Dave, but he's all right, I suppose. I mean, I think that's a bit kind, to be honest. Like, I don't think as much as I love Swerve, I don't think I'll be buying his music anytime soon, but I do love his theme tune. And it was just like real like fever dream stuff there, like, because you'd have like Leo Rush, Mama Wayne, and Nyla Rose, and Ricochet, and like luminaries, like people from the show, like just dancing around to stuff like I don't know, Return of the Mac and In the Club and all that, and They're Not Like Us and stuff like that. And it was like quite a funny few hours after the show, but London is bloody knackering, and we left like right before the end because like we were staying like an hour away. And on Saturday we went to a My World podcast with Jeff Jarrett and Grado, and Eugene was just like sat there, and my girlfriend was very excited to meet Eugene because a lot of her it's horrible like when you hear it, but like if you knew us and knew her, it'd be like you'd understand how funny it is. But yeah, she used to get called Eugene by her brother and sister, and so like meeting Eugene was like quite amazing for her, like she's even like dressed up as Eugene for like a birthday party one time. And it's, if you know us, this isn't like a tasteless thing. I mean, the gimmick of Eugene, yeah, very very quite troublesome and that, but the guy who like portrayed it was a really good wrestler, like a very good technical wrestler back in those days. And so like Prince Nana shows up at this thing as well, and we all did like the Swerve dance, and he like told the story about how he came up with that and stuff. And Grado and Jeff Jarrett did stories, and Tom Campbell was a good host, and they ended with like a bit of karaoke with My Baby Tonight. and it was a fun time, because we didn't get to London early enough to go to see other wrestling shows like the Rev Pro Anniversary and Eve. So this was like a nice casual chilled out thing, and like we got to like Jeff Jarrett gave me a fist pump, which was nice, and chatted to Grado a little bit. I asked him if he was going to be at Forbidden Door, and he said he was going to have to get a plane somewhere, and I thought he was just like working me, but apparently he didn't. So like yeah, he was like telling the truth. And yeah, I like met Jack the Jobber as well. Like he's a really sound guy. He's like really sound. He's just a wrestling fan, really. But yeah, we had an amazing time in London over the weekend, and it was quite an experience watching Forbidden Door live. And like we definitely want to go to as many AEW shows as possible when they come back. Like I'd like to go to Collision in Cardiff, and like All In next year if possible. But yeah, those are my thoughts on like seeing AEW live, Forbidden Door, and also the pay-per-view thoughts as well. Very jumbled, still like a bit slurry and crap, even doing in this audio form. But like, thank you for listening if you got this far, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.